What's happening, guys? Today I'm really excited because we're going to talk about how your diagnosis does not have to define you and what actually truly does define you and giving you the power back so you can move forward in life, so that you have these diagnoses that you have by this person giving you a diagnosis does not define who you are as a person. Guys, I hope you enjoy the episode, and please leave a comment. Please share it to people that would like it. Please subscribe. Anyway, guys, take care, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. So the big question is this: how can dyslexics like us create a place, a community, a tribe where people at any stage of life can come and solve any challenge, amplify their strengths, and ultimately help them become who they were meant to be, or in other words, conquer their dyslexia? That is the question, and this show is the answer. My name's Theo Goff, and welcome to the Conquering Dyslexia podcast. What's happening today, guys? I hope we're doing good and doing alright. Today, I'll have a little discussion about talking about that your diagnosis that you have does not define you. Define who you are as a person. Define your abilities in any way possible. It does not define you in any way. Because, think about it. There's a day that you weren't diagnosed with something. Now, I'm speaking about this very broadly in terms of that dyslexia, autism, ADHD, schizophrenia, Asperger's. Your diagnosis does not define you, because there's a time where you were not diagnosed, wasn't it? There was a time I wasn't diagnosed. So many people weren't diagnosed with a certain thing where someone was sitting down and diagnosing us. And we somehow feel that as human beings, that when we get diagnosed and get this label put on I've got something that they call dyslexia, I've got something they call dyscalculia, dyspraxia, all these different things, and then that means I'm in this category. I do these things, I think, in this way. And then funny thing happens after we leave that little meeting with this with the room of this educational psychologist who's really educated in this part, and people told him, here are all the different here are all the different learning disabilities, here are all the different traits of it, here's why it happens, to get very well educated and all these things. And he tells you something through some test that you take, and after you leave that, you think that you're a different person. You feel differently about yourself after you leave that meeting compared to when you went in the meeting, compared to a few days ago. But let me ask you a question. What has actually changed? Did you actually change? Or was it something else? Because let me tell you something. You didn't change at all. You're the same person that you were a day before you got diagnosed compared to a day after you got diagnosed. You're the same person, with the same difficulties, with the same ways of operating, with the same ways of thinking, with the same brain. But what changed is the meaning of these challenges. Because a lot of times there's so many more so-called disabilities for negative things, not super abilities for positive things. Think about that for a second, because think of it there's a term called neurodiversity. Neuro meaning the brain, diversity meaning there's a large number of people. Neurodiversity, and then neurodiversity is that there's a very wide range of the way of people's brain functioning slightly differently. And they pick people into camps. Here's the dyslexia camp, here's the autism camp, here's the ADHD camp, and some camps can dyslexia and ADHD, they go together. Autism and something else, there's that similar things interlink, and it's all to do with a form of neurodiversity, a different way in the brain is wiring. So we know human beings are born with different brains, and some of their brains are so much more different compared to the average that we have to call them something special, because they can't learn as well, because they have trouble socializing, and they can't cope in certain situations. But what's funny is we very rarely diagnose something because of the extra ability it gives us, which in nearly every single case, these so-called disabilities give us a extra ability, a sort of super ability, as well. These extra neurodiversities give us an ability. And No one ever says that. No one ever calls it, oh no, not dyslexia, which means problem with words, like the definition of dyslexia, like Latin or whatever. They didn't say, oh, incredible at visualizing, 3D mind. They don't call it that, which are the strengths of dyslexia. They call it a negative thing. So what changes when we leave that meeting isn't ourselves, it's the meaning to our differences. It's the meaning to our struggle. Because before we may be struggling and we say, I don't know why. It might be because I'm dumb, it might be because my brain is slow, it might be because of this, it might be because of that. And then when we leave that meeting, we say, oh no, I know what's because of this thing called dyslexia. And then we can define what dyslexia is. Is dyslexia something positive or something negative? Oh, dyslexia is this really negative thing that's basically holds me back and I'm embarrassed about and I don't want people to know. Then we make me know that. Okay, or other people say, okay, my dyslexia is something empowering, something I want to tell people, something that I can learn from, can be actually a gift in certain ways. Because think about it, our dyslexia, like, before, we may have a view of that, okay, this is maybe what dyslexia is, and then we have a view on our challenges. Well, we might be dyslexia, I don't know, might be this, I don't know, no one's ever confirmed it. No person with like, a PhD or, the thingy has gone to me saying, okay, we've tested you, and in my opinion, I think you're this, and because my opinion matters, because I'm educated, and because we took you through these tests, then we declare you as dyslexic. Which means in a certain society that you get the help and support. You mean that extra money, extra help and extra support. And because we know more about dyslexia, about how the brain works, we can teach you in more efficient ways. But oftentimes we leave that thinking, okay, I've got dyslexia now. And the day before I didn't. Well, you did. You were the same person, but you're letting someone's opinion of you change who you are. Guys, I hope we're understanding what I'm talking about. Because someone else's opinion will change who we think we are as a person. And what I want us to get us to realise is that our diagnosis, or what someone pointing us saying, I'm going to diagnose you with these things, shouldn't really affect us at all. Because that day, nothing changed in us. It's just the meaning of the struggle has changed. Because I used the word dyslexia, not because someone pointed a finger saying, okay, you're dyslexic, but I use dyslexia as basically, okay, why can I do unique gifts, and why can I have like unique challenges that are like unique to me and other people that got dyslexia, and label that with dyslexia. Does that make sense? I don't think, oh, I have trouble with reading, I have trouble doing this. Let's look online seeing if this is a dyslexic trait. I don't do that. Why? Because I feel like I'm in charge of my life. I feel like I don't have to be fit into all these different boxes. I don't have to, okay, this is dyslexia, this is the ADHD, this ADHD, this is the this is the memory, this is the human autism. And I don't try to fit into those categories. Because guess what? If you try to fit in those categories, oftentimes we can take the baggage of them. Okay, I'm dyslexic, I'm this, I'm that. And this means I have these limitations. And we decide to live these limitations because we don't know what else look. Because this is a big thing about responsibility. Because if you're looking at someone else to clarify what you've got, clarify your strengths and your weaknesses, what you can do and what you can't do, for someone else to tell you that, then guess what? You're giving your responsibility over to them, and they're telling you what you can do in your life. And that is not taking responsibility. That's being irresponsible. Okay? You have to realize, okay, this is my life. I am in charge of what I can do and what I can't do. And it's largely down to my beliefs. My beliefs about how things work. It's not down to someone telling me who I am or what I can and what I can't do. And I really want us to understand that our diagnosis does not have to define us. But then we get into this point of, okay, our diagnosis doesn't have to define us, but what does? You know what I mean? But is it our actually dyslexia? I understand what he's talking about. He's being, weird with his words. He means our dyslexia defines us because we're born with it. You know what I mean? Like, but we're still dyslexic after they diagnose me, or you know what I mean, before they diagnose me. We're still dyslexic. But I have to say that your dyslexia doesn't define you. It doesn't define your abilities. It's your decisions define you way much more than your dyslexia. Your decisions about what to focus on, about what you're going to do, about how you're going to think in the world. It's these decisions that define us way much more than a thing called dyslexia that means we think differently than everyone else. Because there's so many dyslexics that had so much challenges, find things so much more harder, but yet are living a so much more happier, so much more successful life, even though they had these massive challenges compared to 99.9% of the population who do not have have these same challenges. Because they have so-called disability, but yet they're doing so much more well at life compared to loads of other people who haven't got that so-called disability. Because of decisions. Decisions are the power, okay? And now what a decision is, saying, okay, I'm going to decide to do this, I'm going to decide to focus on this. And we make so many decisions throughout the day. Throughout the day, we make so many decisions. So many decisions about what I'm going to do now, about what I'm going to focus on, how I'm going to feel. And it's all these things. And how we can start taking control of our decisions is we need to start to take responsibility over everything we have control over. Responsibility over our own lives, our own decisions. Because ultimately, we're responsible for our own lives, aren't we? If you listen to this, you know that you're responsible for your own life, for your own quality of life. And because of that, you have to be responsible for your own decisions. What are you going to decide? It's not a decision about what I'm going to do. It's a decision what you're going to focus on, of what things mean to you, or how do you want to feel in certain situations, or decisions on, okay, what am I going to believe in here? Okay, what am I going to value in life? These are massive decisions that we do that affect our lives massively. But it's in the power of decisions that our destiny is shaped. And guys, I'm kind of like telling you this because when I realised this, I started getting more and more power into my own life. And other people started realising they're getting more and more power into their own lives. Because the challenges they're facing, they can fix it if they make the decision. But don't make the decision to give up. Decision because someone diagnosed you with dyslexia. Because someone pointed their fingers and said, okay, you're this, you're that. And guys, I'm saying this little message because I really feel it'll be really valuable. And in this day and age, because, for example, tell you a little story. I was in work today, and because I work in Greenwich, and Greenwich is fighting the UK government saying, okay, all schools are shut. It's like 3 days before Christmas. COVID's getting bad, all schools are going to be closed. And I came in for the key worker kids. And because the government, they really want to keep schools open, they said, no, Greenwich, you're going to have to keep your schools open. I was going to take legal action. So now Greenwich is opening schools. But it was me and two other members of staff looking after like 6-7 kids. And she was saying to and one of these women was really stressed about, oh, what am I going to do this, what am I going to do this, what if this, what if that? And looking to days in the future about what if. And I was just there saying to her, look, we've got these kids now. And we've got the kids to the end of the day. That's what we've got to focus on. That's all the stress we have to deal with. Because guess what? It's not our job to try and worry about that. We're not in control of these all moving pieces. We're only in control of what we can focus on, what we can do. So what's the point of focusing on something we can't control? There's no point in it. And I think right now we've got to start focusing on what we can control, what we can do. Stop focusing, yes, of course things are bad, but focus on what you can control. And yes, like for example, I'm so I feel annoyed because I love Costa. I can be working at Costa, but now like London's going tier 3. I can't go Costa anymore. But it's like, okay, yes, I don't feel good. It's not good. But what am I going to focus on? You know what I mean? I can't control it, so I can't focus. There's no point focusing on it. It's just wasted time. Just try and focus on what you can do with these the exact decision that you need to start conquering your dyslexia. So you don't let your diagnosis define you. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Maybe took some actions on it. But okay, what do I need to focus on? What do I need to do? Because it'll be really valuable. And I'll see you again soon.